You're listening to Well Within 10, a bite-sized approach to working on your wellness. 10 minutes of wellness thought leadership from experts across the country, hosted by me, Stevi Gable-Carr. Today, we're chatting with Jackie Barnes, an interior designer with a passion for helping you live your best life in the spaces we create. Jackie is owner of Jackie Barnes Design. Today, we're going to be chatting with Jackie about how to make intentional use of space in the home and we can support boundaries and mental health. Jackie, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thanks for the opportunity.
Oh my gosh, so fun. So what are we going to be chatting about?
Well, I think today I'd like to talk a little bit about how intentional we need to be with our interior spaces and how much our interior spaces can give back to us and can fulfill our purpose. Because I think that they can absolutely do that as much as we pay attention to them.
I
So
love that.
whatever we give, we get back.
I love that. Well, I'm really excited to dive in. This episode is powered by Fifth Third Private Bank, bringing more than 160 years of experience as trusted advisors to high net worth and ultra high net worth individuals and families. With over 36 billion in managed assets and named one of the top 40 wealth management firms in the US by Barron's, one of the world's best private banks by Global Finance in 20 and 21. So let's dive in. So we're talking about intentionality and what we put in is what we're going to get back. So let's talk about it. How can we really start to create boundaries and standards with intentionality in our spaces, Jackie?
Well, everyone has boundaries and standards, and this is because it helps us provide order and set expectations and give us security. So before I became an interior designer, I studied psychology and I obtained my master's in sociology from University of Cincinnati. So this is really where I am super passionate about just making sure everyone is aware and cognizant of what they're doing to their homes and what things we could be doing that we're not doing that would help us. So now, if we didn't have any of these expectations in our life, we wouldn't have anything to look forward to. Our life would be quite chaotic and random, which I'm not sure, or I've not met too many people that are quite very comfortable with being in a chaotic space or mentally or physically.
Well, I think it's so important that, when we do, life is already so wild. And I know listeners here, when we really think about respite and where we come home to, I just wonder, how many of us have been incredibly intentional about, really looking at our space and saying, how am I creating peace and calm? And like you said, looking forward to coming and stepping into that space after, stepping out of the chaos.
Right. And looking to models that we see on HGTV or catalogs and things like that may not always be the best place to find inspiration. We really need to look within ourselves.
Yeah.
I've never met a client also that is wanting to obtain the same look from one project to the next, which I think is really important. I really love it when clients listen to their own values and what they really want to get out of their home. And I think on this side of COVID, everyone realizes how important that is, making sure that our spaces are truly custom tailored to ourselves and our families. That's another thing I wanted to bring up is that it's not only about you, Stevie, or me, it's about our entire family. And I think that it's important to get the entire family involved in what they want out of their home and what they need as well.
Well, and also I think being realistic also about, I have a 5-year-old at home and what I want is a purely white house with linen and velour and like all the textures, because that brings me a lot of peace. However, I'm a realist, and I also know that the anxiety created by doing and making that choice is not realistic and would really, create a lot of chaos at home. So I really appreciate you touching on that, because again, we all love the model home. I think where we get upset is the translation of the model home to reality.
Yeah. So if you like that crisp linen look, maybe we do that in another area other than the sofa.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That
yeah.
everyone's going to be touching and spilling things on and whatnot. But as long as we're incorporating some of those elements into the space that you find solace in, that's really important. And I think that when you're working with an interior designer, we all know a little bit of tips and tricks, and that, you know, there's a lot of very stain resistant fabrics and things like that that we can incorporate into the space, so that you're not the sofa Nazi, you know, running
Yeah,
around screaming at your kids, you know, don't go, you know. I think
exactly.
most of us that grew up in the 80s and 90s had a room that we weren't allowed in.
Oh, yeah.
Um, that's not how we live anymore. So we really need to make sure that we're doing the right things by our family too.
No, I think that that's so important. And to your point that different rooms and spaces have different functions, and then they need to be designed accordingly. I mean,
Mhm.
the way that you treat a dining room is very different than how you treat your bedroom, right? Because the function of those. Can you just speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're sleeping, you know, we want to make sure that we have a dark, cool room. We want to have linens that make us feel comfortable and cozy. We can switch these things out seasonally, which is always, you know, a fun thing to do. And you know, yeah, you have your dining room table in your dining room to eat at, and you have your bed in your bedroom to sleep in. So we want to make sure also that not only the very obvious things such as those, you know, beds and tables, but lighting is also something that we need to think about. And then also just textures and the durability of things. You know, we go to hotels and we feel very pampered, and there's no reason that we shouldn't feel that way in our own homes too on a
Oh, I
daily basis.
love that. And I think investing in areas that matter most to us and our personal areas, I think is great. I know that color really impacts me a ton. And knowing that even though I, like I said, really love, a lot of whites, and I love a lot of crisp and everything. I do think that it's important to acknowledge and recognize that not everybody's like that. And so, but knowing that maybe having something bright red in your bedroom might not be like the right choice, right? For a calming, soothing space, and might be more fitting for someone, somewhere around where you're eating. I don't even know the psychology around that, but I know that there are answers and that the answers to those. Yeah.
Yes, brighter colors are typically in dining rooms and kitchens
Mhm.
and things. And then the warm, cool blue tones and things like that are typically in places where we want to meditate or we want to rest.
Yeah.
And it's not only also about color, but what items we're putting in the spaces. So if that red thing means a lot to you and it does bring you peace and calmness, that's perfectly fine too, as long as we are incorporating we're bringing in objects that are going to support the emotions that we want to feel in the spaces.
Right. And how many times have we subconsciously, walked past that stack of papers like on our dining room when we just move it from the counter to the table to the whatever. And I think that again, it's that intentionality of saying that's emotional labor that we're subconsciously, engaging with every single day, multiple times a day. How do you intentionally create a space for that? So you know where it is. So you're not always searching for the papers or the keys or whatever it is. And I love that, the intentionality that we put to project manage our work lives and all the other pieces, that we put the intentionality into, enrolling experts like yourself to help us along that journey. I mean, we don't have to do it, but we at least, allowing for somebody like yourself to come in and support that. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, it takes the entire family. So you're
Yeah.
probably not the only one that's piling up your dining room table with
Yeah.
all these
Yeah.
so, you know, and creating intentionality, setting boundaries for everyone in the family, and to help our family recognize what does it feel like? Talk to our kids about it. What does it feel like when you walk into your room and your bed's not made versus when it is made? You know,
Yeah.
we're teaching our kids how to meditate and how to eat right, and how to, all of our manners outside of, in public spaces. I think that we also need to respect our own homes as just as much.
I love that. Creating a habit of intentionality at home, I think is really crucial, and being able, just as you would any other boundary, investing in maintaining that. If it's just working with small incremental steps, I think is really, really incredible.
And the small steps are the key. And don't set yourself up for failure. So maybe just start with one room at a time.
Mhm.
And I would not suggest it be the kids' bedroom.
Yeah.
Make it And that would be I would be setting myself up for a lot of, screaming matches there. But I think that, when we just talk about the public spaces that our family shares all together, starting there and then moving out throughout the home over a period of weeks and months. It's not going to happen overnight.
I love that. Well, Jackie, thank you so much for the time here today. If you have any other questions for Jackie, you can reach out to her through our shop.wellnessguild.com to learn more about Jackie Barnes Design. She is offering consultation sessions as well as just being able to engage with you and helping you guide in the right direction of where you want to go. We're going to be inside a lot this winter and really, kind of spending a lot more time at home. And I think that this is the one gift that you can really give to yourself or to a loved one over the holiday season and being able to invest in that. So thank you so much, Jackie, for being here. And we look forward to working with you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks. You've been listening to Well Within 10, a bite-sized approach to working on your wellness. You can find more episodes wherever you get your podcasts.